Hey, what's going on, guys? Looking at the weather forecast for Florida and South Georgia today. This should be happening. This will be moving through these areas in South Georgia and northern Florida by about 12Z tonight. So 00Z, so around midnight, going into the morning. And then by tomorrow and looking around maybe 12Z in the afternoon. Around noon, going into the afternoon. Tomorrow we'll be moving into North Carolina and parts of Virginia as well, pushing out to the Atlantic. So we're looking at what's going on tonight. You can see here in the high def radar here that this weather system is going to be pushing through, and as it moves along, this is this marginal risk that the Storm Prediction Center has outlined here. All this that's above this is just, kind of the rain band. That's where you're just going to get some rain and some traditional, you know what I mean, just maybe maybe a little bit of heavy rainfall, but nothing too extreme or severe in these areas right here. And the majority of the reason for this staying pretty south is if we take a look at the temperatures, and this kind of heating that's over Alabama right here is going to push east with this as well. We got this front that's here, and that's going to kind of wedge. It's kind of, going to bend and kind of wedge around Atlanta, and where that cooling is still going to be happening, and then there's going to be that heat that's going to push over. So if I play this overlay here, you can see where that heating is kind of moving east, and is later on tonight, the evening into later tonight, is going to be moving into Georgia and parts of Florida here. So that's going to give it a little bit of that influx to maybe produce some severe weather in these areas of South Georgia and Florida. And you can see where they have the marginal risk pretty much all the way down the panhandle of Florida right here on the western side going into South Georgia. So we are looking at that. The classic radar, I'm going to go ahead and put that in. So you don't see this stuff really building too much right now. A little bit of those yellows and stuff like that in there, but with the accompanied wind shear that's here, and you can see this kind of multi-tiered wind shear that's coming up from the south and the southwest, and you can see that line that kind of is in this area right here, and you can see that line where that wind shear is kind of mixing, and it's meshing before moving straight to the northeast, northeastern pattern up here. But you can see where that line kind of outlines right there, you know what I mean, and that accompanied wind shear with poor lapse rates in this area is going to maybe support a little bit, it's going to be supportive of some of those those embedded thunderstorms and things like that, isolated thunderstorms in these areas. And with that wind shear the way that it is, it's going to support the ability for a little bit of rotation in these thunderstorms and the formation of some supercells in this area. So they're going to be looking at that for the Storm Prediction Center. Probably come out with another update maybe around 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock this afternoon, somewhere around that, and then we'll know more about what's going to happen towards the midnight. So I would say that if you are in these areas here in southern Georgia, in this kind of area before it moves northeast along the Atlantic coast, definitely be on your weather aware side today as far as listening to the alerts and the warnings that the Storm Prediction Center puts out. Northern Florida right here is, I'm thinking, and I don't know this for a complete fact, but I'm thinking that this is going to kind of be the target zone, you know what I mean, in northern Florida and in southern Georgia here. This is going to be kind of, that target zone, I think, for where these embedded supercells and things like that are going to start to rotate and form right here. But I mean, that's just an educated guess, you know what I mean? It could be further south as well, because we do have another, line where that wind shear kind of tapers off, and you got this pocket of wind shear that's kind of right here, that's coming up there. So with the poor lapse rates in the Cape the way it is and things like that, there's definitely a potential for some increased thunderstorms. Some lightning is going to be apparent, and some heavy rainfall. So some of those supercells that might be rotating in this area have the potential with the wind shear to maybe drop an isolated tornado or two. So I don't really know at this point. We got to see how the storm develops later on. That being said, as this moves along with the outflow boundary line and things like that, so when it comes up to these areas right here. Usually if, and you don't know where these supercells and these, if it does drop any tornadoes, where these tornadoes are going to kind of form. But usually if they form in the front of the formation along the squall line, usually they don't last very long. They're very short-lived. They're, short-tracked. And even if they are powerful and violent tornadoes, they usually don't last that long if they're in the front of the formation. Usually they happen at the back of the storm somewhere, and those are going to last a little bit longer, and they could be more violent as well, more prevalent. So I'm gonna be watching for that as it moves east into the areas of southern Georgia and Florida. So I'm looking at, I've been looking at a couple of different radars to figure out exactly kind of what it's doing here, but right now it's just kind of building up. It's not really organized right now at the moment as it's coming out of Alabama into Georgia and Florida. But it's gonna, once it gets, you know what I mean, kind of on the corner of Georgia into Florida, it's gonna start kind of building a little bit. So we'll be able to see exactly what its, what its intentions are, I guess you could say, before it gets here. So, but I was looking at the instrumentation data from the Storm Prediction Center as well, and I will pull that over for you. So you can see, then this is all current data of what it looks like right now. So it will change throughout the day as this storm progresses eastward. So right here we're looking at the dew points. The dew points are expected in these areas of North Florida and Georgia, southern Georgia right here. They are expected to increase to, anywhere from 60 to 64 in Fahrenheit. So these dew points are going to rise pretty exponentially. You can see that dark spot of moisture, which is going to move east into southern Georgia and Florida, even parts all the way up to mid-Georgia, but with the wind shear the way it is and the poor lapse rates in these areas and the temperature, you're going to get that heating that's pretty much south of this line where it's going to be a little bit warmer. And with that cone that's there, as far as the front is concerned, that's where that cooling is going to be destabilizing some of that formation of those supercells and embedded thunderstorms in this area here. You know what I mean? So you're gonna have that heating. You're gonna have the dew points down here that are gonna be increasing. The wind shear is definitely a factor. So, and we're looking at 700 millibar wind shear that's going to be blowing through here. So it's possible for some rotating thunderstorms and some supercells to form, which may or may not drop some tornadoes, some isolated tornadoes here. So we have to see how it develops from here. As far as that, we're looking at surface cape here. So you see that surface cape that's kind of moving into the panhandle of Florida right now. Some of these surface cape levels are pretty pretty prominent. So definitely some promising cape in this area, for some possible supercells to develop. That wind shear that's coming across here, the bulk wind shear is 40 knots down here at the bottom, which is more than enough to spin up some supercells. But then north of here, you got a little bit of increased wind shear, some 60 to 80 knots, in some places. So that wind shear is definitely there. It's supercell composite and tornado parameter. Tornado parameter is kind of hanging back a little bit, but your supercell composite, it just gives you a basic idea of how easily it's going to be for supercells possibly to develop in this area. And that's already crawling up to the panhandle of Florida here. So we are expecting, a little bit of possible severe weather in these areas. So if you are in the regions, of northern Florida and southern Georgia, even along the Atlantic coast of, I'm sorry, even if you are along the Gulf Coast of Florida right here, make sure you guys are weather aware today. You have your alerts going and everything so you can keep an eye on what's going on, all the warnings and alerts that come out from the Storm Prediction Center. Make sure you have your safe places ready just in case. I'm not saying it's going to be that bad, but you want to be prepared for any kind of severe weather that may come your way. So, and it could be nothing. It could be something, it could be everything, it could be nothing. So you just want to make sure that you're prepared in these areas to try to keep your family safe, to keep your property safe. You plan for the worst and hope for the best, right? So we're going to watch as this storm develops eastward, and I'm going to try to keep you guys informed on what's going on throughout the day. This is just a basic overview of what to expect this evening going into tonight. So this won't happen until later tonight is what they're looking at. about midnight 00Z. So that would be, you know, midnight going into the morning hours, and then in the afternoon hours heading up into South Carolina, North Carolina, and parts of Virginia as well by about noon tomorrow. So that's what we're looking at. So at the very best, a lot of rainfall, possibly some lightning. Don't know exactly yet. As it's kind of moving, you don't see a whole lot of lightning in it or anything like that it's producing. But as those dew points increase going into the east and everything with that warming, it's definitely, excuse me, it's definitely possible going into the later hours of the evening. So, um, so definitely heavy rainfall. You might have some flood. There's actually a flood warning right here inside the convective outlook, just northeast of Quincy, right here, north of Tallahassee. So, you know, some of the flooding has already transpired, you know what I mean, with the rainfall. So you will have some torrential rainfall in these areas, moving eastward and northeastward into this. So that's at the very best. At the very worst, you know, with the accompanied wind shear and the poor lapse rates with the heating, it's definitely some possibility for some rotating rotating thunderstorms into supercells. So and with that wind shear, it's going to be possible for some isolated tornadoes. But you know, but I mean, some supercells, they just don't produce tornadoes at all. It's just a very bad thunderstorm. So that's kind of what we're hoping for. Hoping for the best. So everybody stay safe, and I'll come out with another briefing later on and let you guys know what's going on. As soon as any warnings come rolling out in the evening, I'll definitely put out some stuff to keep you guys informed and well informed, so that we can get those warnings and those alerts out, so people can stay safe and get out of the way. Alrighty. So if you have any questions, comments, or anything like that, feel free to message me or comment on this video, and I will definitely get back to you. I appreciate you guys being with me. Have a great day.